Development. Today we are going to start the topic of development. Generally we get the topic of development associated with us in our day-to-day life. The progress in the human mankind in some terms called as development. So progressing of human life has always resulted in development. Now coming to understand the basic of our lesson and why should we focus on development is the fundamental question is, what are the essential things that we need as a human being? What are the essential things? Second question, can life be better for all? Is there any possibility that all people can have a better life? Then moving on to third one, how can people live together? How can people live together? Then can there be more equality? To answer these four fundamental questions is the main concept of our lesson, development. Man has always, from the past history to the present day, has always searched for something called essential things, which are the basic requirements. Today we call food, shelter and clothing are the basic requirements for any person to survive on this planet. Food, cloth, shelter. These three are the prime requirements that are called essential things. After this food, clothing and shelter has been done, life can be better for all. Better. Till here we need essential things. After this we started to ask for the better things than the existing things. So now when it comes to food, the quality of the food. When it comes to cloth, the quality of the cloth. When it comes to shelter, the categories of the houses, the largeness, the size of the houses, everything matters. So all these things came to the category of better. And then how can people live together? Earlier people were not together. Yes, earlier also people used to live together. Now also people are living together. But in the same town, in the same village, we have categorization of the people basing on their houses they stay, basing on the dresses they use, basing on the quality of food they eat. All these things matters. So there is difference between people and people. That's the reason why the fourth question has come, can there be more equality? Which means that there is no equality, there is inequality. We need to have more equality than this. So to answer all these questions, the one thing is development. When I say the word development, the development does not mean only to one person's development, one individual development, one family development. The development is for the entire mankind development. So in order to understand this, in economics, only in the economical point of view, we cannot say that is a development. Yes, you may see the difference of any person before development and after development in terms of economy. But in the course of our history, in the course of our political structure, we can understand that without having the real implication with the political system, you cannot get economic development, you cannot achieve better equality, you cannot achieve any change in the society. So the inclination towards the political structure is highly required. Then only in the course of our history we have learned that inclination to political structures will lead us to development in the economy. So that we shall learn now, what is a development, how do development mean for different categories of people, how do we compare one country as a developed country, the other country as a non-developed country, what are the criterias that are used for consideration of development and non-development, and then how we can categorize the countries as developed, less developed and the underdeveloped countries. What are the criteria that are followed by World Bank, UN, all these things we shall discuss now. As we discussed about the term development, now let us see examples of two different cases how the word development means for different people. Let us take a case of a girl and a boy. We generally observe in the Indian families that a girl and a boy. Girls are trained to do the household work, whereas boys are given a bit more freedom to play outside, to do whatever they want. And very rarely we find a boy coming and doing the household work. So for a girl, if you ask what is development, definitely girl will expect to have equal time for her also to go outside and play, and at the same time she also would have a dream that her brother also should come and help her in the household works. She want to go outside and play and also want the work to be shared equally by brother and sister, whereas the same second point may not be liked much by the brother. So these all things will definitely affect the development. For the girl, development is getting equality and sharing of the work. When it comes to the boy, development means getting educated in a well established school where he can get various opportunities to explore himself. So there is a difference between the idea of a girl getting development thought and boy getting a development thought. And then when we move on to an industrialist would wish to have more number of dams so that he would get electricity without any disturbance. So he can get more electricity supplied for his industry or his factory without much delay. But in the same way, when we ask a farmer if they built a dam, how that would affect him, he would get his field get displaced because that will be coming under the dam area. So he has to lose his farmland and he will become incomeless person. So that may change his entire life. Where industrialist point of view, he want more number of dams so that he would get electricity without any delay and without any lapses, whereas the same farmer of the same village would not wish to have a dam because that would take away the income asset what he is getting for his lifelong, that would be taken away from him. So development is different for different people. When we take in the cases of girl and a boy, girl's idea of development is different, boy's thought process of development is different. Industrialist idea is different, farmer's idea is different. So development is different for different people. The development cannot be same for all people. Sometimes for a person like development, like let's take an example of industrialist. The industrialist development is actually costing the life of a farmer. Farmer's daily income, his main occupation is going to be in trouble if they built a dam. So sometimes it may also be in a case like this that development of one particular individual or one particular section of people can be at the negative effect for the others. Sometimes development may be in different goals. Sometimes one development may be resulting in the destruction of the others' development. So we can conclude this one that development is different for different people. Development will not be same for all people. Development idea and development strategies will be definitely different for different categories of people, for what they belong to and what they wish to. Moving to understand the income and the other goals of the individuals. What does generally people expect? We all know that development means betterment. Betterment, immediately we remember the word like regular work, because in Indian villages many of the works are seasonal, starting from agriculture to many other works. What the people perform in the villages are seasonal employment opportunities. So they need regular work that is assured for them. Then definitely they would feel that they are in a better situation. So the regular work is a first major expectation of all people in most of the Indian villages. Then next word what we think of is better wages, that is better amount of payments what they get per day. They expect to live better, we need better income for us. After getting better income, they also would like to expect a high price for their crop what they have produced. The output what they brought from their field should be consumed at more amount so that they can get more profit. Ultimately, regular work gives more income, better wages brings better income for them, high price also gets better income for them. After getting more income, satisfied income, after getting the sufficient required income opportunities for them, that is income, then what do the people do? What do the people expect actually? we have a different word in the heading that is called goals. Income and other goals. What are the other goals? What is the meaning of the goal? Goal is something that we need to target at. That should be our goal. That should be our aim. So if you want to achieve something, you need to go to somewhere and to reach somewhere. So after income is got thorough with that, after you have sufficient amount of income with you, what is the next major step that you are going to do or expect? The next major step, what we are going to expect is that equal treatment. You need equal treatment between you and the others. You would like to respect others at the same way you would like to wish that others also should respect you. You need to have equal treatment. You need to have equal respect with each other. Then we should have freedom and security. You like to have more freedom. Freedom in the sense, positive sense. You should not be bound by any restrictions. You are free to do whatever work you wish to do, and all these things should be added for you for freedom and security. You want assurance that you are feeling secured. You are not worried about anything. You are not stressed out of any such situations. And the next one is respect. You need lot of respect. Equal treatment comes only when you respect each other. So once the income target is achieved, once you are sufficient with your daily wage, once you are getting regular work, once you achieved your target of getting sufficient amount of income per day, then definitely you go for the other expectations, that is equal treatment, freedom, security, and then respect for yourself. So once you get income, the other goals what you need to find out is equal treatment for each other, freedom, security, and then respect. Why? Because money plays a very crucial role in everyone's life. Today whatever we do, most of the reasons would be for achieving something in terms of economy, in terms of money. Everything is calculated in terms of money. Yes, we practically think that many things can be bought with money, but when it comes to money, money cannot buy you everything. We generally feel that money can buy many things. When you take a comparison, with money we can buy materials. With money we can buy certain things which makes your life comfortable. You may buy a vehicle which can make your transportation comfortable for you. But in practical terms, the actual relations of human relations, human nature, understanding cannot be bought with money. For example, you take a relation between you and your friend. Between you and your friend, money cannot buy a friendship between you and your friend. You may have a friend, but you cannot buy friendship with money. We generally have an assumption that people can do anything in terms of money. People can rule anybody by getting more money. But actually in practical that is false. In fact, it is completely wrong assumption. We generally assume that with money we can do many things, but you cannot buy friendship. You cannot buy your parents' affection with that. Only thing what you can do is you can buy the things or the materials which can make your life more comfortable than earlier to the situations. Now let us take an example of a job where you get more income for you and your job status is insecure. You have to stay far off from your hometown where you need to leave your parents and you need to stay away. First thing is you need to travel a long distance, but you get huge amount of income as your salary, and then you have insecure situation. You may be turned out from the job at any time, and you also need to leave your family and stay there alone. When it comes to the second situation, a job which is a regular work, secured for you, less payment when compared to that one, but still you can stay with your family and you can be very close to your house. Which job would we prefer? We would definitely prefer the second category rather than the first category. As I mentioned earlier for you, people also would expect for regular work, not a temporary work. So that regular work you get it even if it is paid less also, people would go for a compromise. That is a case different, and this also can be added as an example for income and the other goals. The income was his salary was less, but the goal is he want regular work, he want regular payment for him, he want to be close to his house and his family members. So these all comes under the other goals. In the same way, when we take an example of a woman who is working at home as a housewife may not get much respect, but when she is taking up the challenges of working outside as well as in the house, definitely she may get more respect. And when there is a better opportunity provided for women to come outside and work from the house places, definitely women would be daring to come outside and take good chances to lead their life happily and also helping the family at the same time. So these all situations will definitely be helping for them. And in the same way, we are discussing about the mix of the goals. We discussed about a friend with whom we cannot buy a material, you can buy with money, but a relation you cannot buy with money. You need to strive yourself hard, you need to be very polite, very respect, very equal, passionate to have relation, not only the money. The next, you have the jobs as an example. Better pay job, insecure job. Less paid, secured job. People would prefer to go for less paid and secured job rather than better paid and insecure job. And then this all we need to understand is that these all are coming under the category of income and the other goals. Generally, people would expect to have a mixture of all the goals. People would not only dream of having only better income and other inputs. People would also have to expect certain things, means they have to forego certain things. So people would try to do a compromise by having all the goals on the criteria to be required, and money plays an important role but not in all matters. Now let us try to understand national development. We discussed till now what is development, how development can be different to different people. In the same way, we also have to remember that different people would feel different aspects as their development points. For example, we have seen a girl expecting more freedom and also expecting her brother to come and share the work, whereas industrialist expecting more number of dams for free supply of electricity without any disturbance, without any lapses. Farmer expecting no dams because he wants his land to be secured, which is giving income for him for the lifelong process. So like this, different people are having different expectations of development, and at the same time these different people also have conflicting notions when it comes to development. The case with the industrialist. Industrialist was actually expecting more dams at the cost of the input loss for the farmers, whereas farmers' idea of development is to get more income for the crop what he has expected, high price for the crop. But when it comes to the ideology of industrialist, he wants more dams to be built in the more lands, whereas these two are conflicting notions against each other. But the development idea itself is different for different people. It cannot be same for all people, or it cannot be same for even two people. It can be definitely different for different people. Now coming to understand the point here, all the ideas to be considered equally. Now the point is, we have discussed ideas of different people, but is the importance should be given for all the ideas equally? That is a fundamental question. Next, if conflict arises, what have to be done? Which idea have to be taken? If there is a controversy or if there is a conflict between the ideology of a farmer and the industrialist, which idea has to be picked up? Which idea has to be taken into consideration? That is another important fundamental question. Next, what is a fair and the just path for all? For example, the first question is, what ideas to be treated equally, whether all the ideas have to be taken and treated equally. if you take all ideas equally, the idea of the industrialist to build more dams at the cost of farmers losing their lands, what about the idea of the farmers then? Farmers' idea is different, industrialist idea is different. And now when they are contrary to each other, industrialists want all the farmers to leave their farms and go away to build more dams. Whereas farmer want the dams to not be built in so large and build small dams. Whose idea have to be taken into consideration? That is the second question. Conflict, what has to be done? Third point, what is a fair and a just path? Following industrialist idea blindly is not fair to the farmers. Following the farmer's idea blindly is not fair to the industrialist point of view. So what is a middle path which can justify farmer as well as the industrialist? How can we make both the parties happy? When I talk about both the parties here, I am not just telling about the industrialist and the farmer. So the fundamental point is which point of ideology has to be taken on a larger scale to benefit large number of people, because one side industries are very important for the country to develop. At the same time, farming, which is a basic occupation for nearly 70% of the Indian families. So we cannot ignore farming, we cannot ignore industries. So which path would give us a better way for us to understand and give a better equal opportunities for both of them to come together and develop the nation? Then what is the best possible alternative for us which can benefit the large number of people? So when we talk about the national development itself is nothing but answering all these questions in a deliberately and in a detailed manner is called national development. We cannot simply justify a national development saying that these people's ideas are good, these people's ideas are bad. Which idea benefits larger sections of people at a single stroke is called best idea, and that will definitely get good development for all the people, which would ultimately result in the development of the nation on a larger scale. That development, achieving larger development or achieving development for larger community of people, large number of people, is called national development. Now, how to compare different countries? We all know that every country is geographically different. Then how do we compare it in terms of economy? But before going into that depth of understanding that one, very simple. When we talk about the students of your classmates, we compare each individual with the other individual. First, we look at the height, how tall he is, how short the other one is. What is the difference? Height is a criteria there. Next, how healthy he is, how unhealthy he is. If he is having any specific diseases, health issues, that comes the second criteria. Then the talents he exhibits in the competitions, participating in other competitions, all these things come as a part and parcel of criteria to assess between two individuals, two students. When it comes to two persons, two matured people, what is his attitude of friendship? How does he do friendship? What are the criteria that differentiate him from the others? Income, levels of income, all these will play a very important role. Next, when we compare with the different income groups, in that income group, suppose let us take a country's entire income. For example, a country of USA, United States of America. All the people in United States of America get more income. Naturally, the entire income of the country will be more. So when we are comparing any one country with the other country, the entire income is added up and it is compared with the other country income. So when we add on the income, if 100 people are added on the income, 10 people are getting more than 10 lakhs per annum, while as the other people are getting less than that also. When it comes to overall addition, it gets added up for all. So though the population is not getting equally that much, but the income of the country will be more. In the same way, when it comes to another country like India, where the income levels are very less for certain categories of people, but there are certain categories of people who are earning more and more amounts. Again, this also would add on, and here you don't get the clarity on who or how much an average individual is getting. So it's very difficult to determine and say this country's income is more than this country, but the average living standard of the people in that country may be different and this country may be different. Yes, when we have more income for a country, it would be more easy for the individual to buy and get more comforts. But when the more comforts are provided only for certain categories of people, it cannot be assumed that it can be done for all categories of people, because only few privileged classes of people may be utilizing or getting benefited with those particular comforts, well as the rest of the 50% or 70% of the people or community may not be knowing at all what that actual facility is. So these differences will be there when we take only the comparison of income. Why this difference will come? Because we have different population. What is different population? In a city like Mumbai, where Mumbai is known as a city of dreams, where millions of people come here in search of jobs and in search of to achieve something. But in the same Mumbai, the costliest villas are present and many chawls are present, the suburb villages. So the same city is accommodating high-end privileged classes people, the Ambani families, the film stars, at the same time the lowest poor category slum people also in the chawls. So it cannot be judged that saying that all people who are living in Mumbai will definitely be belonging to rich community people. It is a false assumption. It is true, in Mumbai you have a privilege to become rich, but it is not always true for all people at all cases that all will be provided opportunity to become rich. There are many lakhs of people staying in Mumbai from decades to decades, but still working as daily wage labor. So different communities of people will together be called as a country. If only in one city we have this kind of situation, so in entire country we may have different categories, different cases. It is common for every country nowadays, because we are migrating from one country to another country. Earlier we used to migrate from one region to another region within the state or within the country, but today people are migrating from one country to another country at very long stretch. So now the different people are getting gathered at different corners of the world. Different categories of people accommodate together for the country's income. So a national income cannot be the perfect criteria to say whether the average individual in that particular country is getting more income or not. When the average individual is not getting more income, we cannot simply jump to any judgment saying that the entire country is getting full income basing on the national income. The actual national income which is projected may not be the total income, may not be the actual income of all the individuals. It may be largely contributed by few people who are of filthy rich community, whereas the other may be contributing their own limited amounts. But when we have more amount of rich people, that would automatically reflect on the larger scale to say that country's income is more. So in order to derive solution for this one, in order to find out a right alternative and to determine whether a country is getting actual income or not, so they decided to go for the average total income of a country, total income by total population. Till now we are considering only total income. So when total income is considered, only we are able to see leaving aside the population. But when we take the average of total income by total population, then it is called average. When we get the national average that results in the total population average. Then generally we get an idea, not exactly, but to a very large extent, what is the average income that an individual can get in that particular society, in that particular country. Because with the total income we cannot say whether an individual is getting or not. When the total income is divided by the total population, there are more chances to determine the average expected income for a particular individual in that particular country. Once the average incomes are calculated, then we can compare the average income of one country with the other country. That would be a better determinant for saying whether a country is developed or not. On this criteria, in 2006, the World Bank has gave a statistic saying that a country whose average income is 4,53,000 rupees per annum is called a rich country. A country whose national income or the national average, after taking the total income by total population, we get the national average. This national average is also called as, in terms of economic terms, per capita income, per individual income, per head income. Per head income is more than 4,53,000 per annum per year. If he gets more than this, that country is termed as rich country. Whose income is less than 37,000 and lower than that. Which countries individuals get less than 37,000 and lower than that, those people are considered as low income countries. And India comes under the category of, India's average individual earning is 28,000 per annum, which is very low. So India falls under the category of low income countries. Which countries are getting 4,53,000 per annum for every individual are called rich countries. These countries were also called as developed countries, except considering the Middle Eastern countries. The Middle Eastern countries are not considered as developed countries because they are having high resources of income but not the exact infrastructure which is required for a country to be called a developed country. So the income, when we took the income, we got many obligations saying that income cannot be the top criteria to determine whether a country is developed or not developed. Afterwards, we also had a viewpoint that different population people would also contribute for national income. So let us take the average. When the average is taken by calculating total income by total population, that is equal to average or per capita income, national per capita income. Per individual, how much income does they get, that is called national per capita income. And then they have World Bank giving the statistics in 2006 stating that which country's per capita income is more than 4,53,000 per annum, that countries will be called as rich, and developed countries excluding the Middle Eastern countries, while the countries whose income is 37,000 and lower than that, they are called low income countries. India also falls under the category of low income countries because still India's per capita income is 2,800 per annum. These are the statistics according to the 2004 consensus. Now, income and the other criteria. As we were discussing, actually how does an income will be the topmost criteria, we have discussed and we have gone to the conclusion that only income, the entire income of all the individuals will become national income. Only the national income, if it is taken as a criteria, definitely that would affect the entire country's development standards, but the actual picture of the country cannot be revealed outside. So they have taken the average per capita income has taken, then the countries according to the World Bank report are being categorized into developed or the undeveloped countries, low income group countries. But now moving to understand how other criteria also get added for us to say whether a place is good developed or not. Let us see here an example. Let us take the per capita income of states in our own country Punjab, Kerala and Bihar. Punjab we have 26,000, whereas Kerala 22,800, Bihar 5,700. So when per capita income is taken, and if you look at the statistics, the average income of an individual in Punjab is 26,000 rupees, whereas in Kerala is almost 22,800, nearly 23,000. But the average income of a person in Bihar is 5,700, which is 5 to 6 times less than the income of a person who is in Punjab, or 5 times less than the income of people in Kerala. So according to our earlier discussion, it is very easy to judge and say that the average income is very high in Punjab. So definitely Punjab is a most developed region among all the states of India. Now let us move on to understand the other stands or other criteria also before jumping into any conclusion. The other one is IMR, infant mortality rate. Infant mortality rate is nothing but the number of infant babies die per 1,000 less than 5 years of age. From the just born babies to the babies who are dying at the age of less than 5 years, lack of medical facilities, lack of nutritious food, lack of proper care meted to them. So the infant mortality rate, when we have taken into calculation, Punjab according to income it is on the top place, but when the infant mortality rate is taken, it is again at 49 people per 1,000 pass away, whereas in Kerala it is only 11 people, while in Bihar it is 60 people, very high. So in Punjab 49, in Kerala 60, Kerala 11 and Bihar 60. This is the second criteria. When we take the third criteria, that is literacy rate. The average literacy rate, the number of people who can read and write per 100 is called literacy rate. The number of people who can read and write per 100 people is called literacy rate. Per 100 people in Punjab, 70 people are literates. Very good. Kerala, 91 people are literates. Fine. And in Bihar we have very less than half, 47 people are literates, which means literally Kerala is on the top with 91%, whereas Punjab with 70% stands at the second place. And moving on to understand the net attendance of the students to the schools from 1 to 5 classes, the primary sections, the basic education is, in Punjab it is 81, in Kerala it is 91 and in Bihar it is 41. Now let us take all the things together. Per capita income of Punjab is 2,600, very high. Infant mortality rate, number of individuals pass away for every 1,000 infant babies, that is 49. Literacy rate 70%. Net attendance from 1 to 5th classes 81%. Very good. Next, Kerala 22,800 rupees with infant mortality rate 11. Very good. Very less percentage of babies pass away here. And literacy rate 91. It is almost all people are well educated. And net attendance also is 91%. Very few people escape their school here. And moving on to Bihar, 5,700, very low income state. 60 children pass away at the age of less than 0 to 5 years. And literacy rate also is very less, 47%. And the attendance to the schools is very low, only 40% of the people come here. Now, income wise, if you take only income, Punjab stands at first. Now, what is the development of a state, though they have more income, but there is no security or no medical facility available for their young kids or infants at the age of 0 to 5 years. What if we are in a stage where we are building big malls, we have metros having all the towers reaching the skies, where we have modern technology, modern equipment, everything, but still the children who are not even celebrating their first birth anniversary are passing away from this earth. So what is the use of a money which cannot save your own kid? So that cannot be the only criteria income to say that this place is developed. So Punjab cannot be categorized into the first developed state because the infant mortality rate is very high in Punjab with 49 per 1000. And let us take the literacy rate. When it is compared with the literacy rate of Kerala, the literacy rate is also less, 20%, means every 20 individuals are uneducated in Punjab when compared to Keralites. So 91, again Kerala beats up Punjab. And coming to understand the average attendance, that is, in Punjab it is fine and good, 81% are attending the schools, whereas in Bihar, if you take, it is only 41%, means more than half of a class. If you go and visit a school, their students will not be there. There they will be playing outside, or they may not even know what is a school is. So these kind of situations will definitely bring us a condition where the actual development cannot be taken only the criteria of money. It has to be taken the other factors also into consideration before giving our judgment or before deciding whether a state is developed or not developed. And now we all have a general assumption that when we have money, we have seen the case of Punjab also, in our pocket you can buy all goods and all services, which is a wrong assumption. When you have money in your pockets, you cannot buy all goods and all services. For example, if you are living in a village, and in a village most of the people are not having an idea that we all need to go to a school, then government would not establish a school. What would be your thought process of getting educated? Because only if you think school cannot be established, you need to go to somewhere far off place where your parents need to send huge amount and make you to study in a private school. So it is a possibility that the cost of any good can be reduced when it is done collectively. In the same way, the transporting one individual traveling is difficult and costly. When a group of people are traveling through public transport, the cost will be shared between all equally. So the burden will be also reduced. In the same way, when government decides to put a school in a village, whereas all the other people in the village are also thinking to study, that's the reason why you got educated there very easily. It's not the money that made you to get school there. It is the government's idea that all people should get educated. So there are many people who think like you only, similarly, that education plays an important role in our life. So we need to get educated. In that way, we need to think ourselves and we need to get positive sign. Then only we can achieve certain things. Money will not get all the required goods and services what we require in our day-to-day life. And in a situation where in Kerala you have, though income is moderate, infant mortality rate is less, the number of small children die is less. When in a family, when a small infant is born, we all feel very happy and very joyful. If you lose any infant in a family, we also feel very sorrow for that. So when many families are in sorrow, you cannot say that country is prosperous, that state is prosperous. So there are many other factors which need to be taken into consideration, and then we can declare whether that state is developed or not developed. So we need to consider other than income also certain other criteria that will give us a better idea of whether a place is developed or not developed. Till now we have discussed how a country has to be assessed. It's not only the income, it has to be taken into consideration the infant mortality rate, the life expectancy in that particular region. In the same way, how is the public distribution system? For example, we have seen Punjab being at the top when it comes to the income, but when it comes to the infant mortality rate, the number of people, especially small infants, were 49. When it comes to Kerala, it's only 11. So Kerala would be given more preference in ranking rather than that. So the criteria, it's not only the income, the other facilities are also important. When it comes to Kerala, the public distribution system, the ration shops were also well maintained, so that even the low income group and the middle low income group people also can acquire certain amount of nutritious food provided at the subsidy levels by the government. So all these things will be adding for any region, any state, any country to be having healthy people and also better standard of living. They are also getting nutritious food. These are some of the important criteria. Now let us try to understand what is a criteria that is taken by the United Nations Development Program to categorize the countries, or what is the ranking that has been followed by UNDP, United Nations Development Program. So the combination of income, life expectancy, infant mortality rate, literacy rate, all together has been brought together under one umbrella, that is Human Development Index. The Human Development Index is the criteria that is being used by the United Nations Development Program to categorize the nations and their rankings. There are total 177 countries in this ranking system. In that ranking system, we also have list of some of the Asian countries falling in that one. Let us know about them now. See here, Sri Lanka, closely located to India, just a distance of 19 kilometers on the southeastern side, south exactly down to India. Now, the per capita income of Sri Lanka in US dollars is 4,390 rupees. It is 4,390 US dollars is the per head income of every individual in Sri Lanka. By dividing the total income of Sri Lanka by total population, we got this per capita income. It is really very high. Life expectancy, the number of years averagely expected from the birth to the death, is called life expectancy. How many years he may survive? It is 74 in Sri Lanka. Literacy rate, number of educated people per 100 people, 91 out of 100. And the Human Development Index ranking is 93 out of 177. The total number of countries in this category are 177. In that, Sri Lanka is on the 93rd rank, whereas India's per capita income in US dollars is 3,139. Well, life expectancy 64 years, 10 years less than Sri Lanka, $1,000 less than Sri Lanka. Literacy rate 30% less than Sri Lanka, 91 were in Sri Lanka, 61 in India. And in ranking also, India is a far ahead than Sri Lanka in ranking. In the reverse order, India is at 126th place out of 177. So Sri Lanka is more than 30 ranks ahead than India. And then Myanmar, a very small country, still struggling to establish democracy there. Aung San Suu Kyi fighting to get democracy in Myanmar. Let us see how is it in Myanmar. The per capita income is 1,027 US dollars, very very low. Then life expectancy is almost nearby to India, that is 61, whereas literacy rate is 90%, far ahead than India and very close to Sri Lanka. HDI ranking, Human Development Index ranking is 130, very close to Indian ranking. So it is not so astonishing. Moving to Pakistan. In Pakistan, the income is 2,225 per head, and their life expectancy also just 1 year shorter than India, that is 63, whereas literacy rate is very low, 50%, half, and ranking is 134 out of 177. Just 7 countries difference ranking is there between India and Pakistan. Well, Pakistan is far below than even Myanmar also. Well, in Nepal recently got democratic restoration. Recently they established the parliamentary supremacy and the monarchy was being changed into constitutional monarchy. So let us see here, the income is 1,490 US dollars per capita income, 62 is the life expectancy. The number of literacy rate ratio is 50%, well in the ranking is 138. And moving on to last but not the least, Bangladesh, 1,870 is the US per capita income in dollars for them, and life expectancy is very close, same like India, 63 years, and literacy rate is far low, only 41%, while the ranking is ahead than Nepal with 137. And now let us observe the statistics carefully. Sri Lanka is a very small country when compared to India. Sri Lanka is a country which has faced many internal issues. We have discussed in the previous class also that how Sri Lanka is having the policy of majoritarianism attitude, where the Sinhalas are trying to control the minority Tamilians. They have internal conflicts, they have civil wars, but still Sri Lanka is having good per capita income. Let us not take only per capita income as consideration, but let us also take the other factors. Let us see, life expectancy is far more when compared to any other country in the other Asian countries which are given for us. Literacy rate is also very high in Sri Lanka. Even the ranking also, they are far better than India. Nearly 33 rankings they are ahead than India. So it's not an easy thing. So India being a largest country among the Asian countries of the list which are given for us, and let us take in Myanmar also, they have literacy rate 90%, and even in the life expectancy also they are far ahead, nearby close to India's expectations, which means that India needs to achieve more targets and India is still lagging behind when it is compared to other countries, very small countries in comparative to area with India, but earning huge and huge incomes of per capita income, and literacy rate is also almost very high than India in Sri Lanka and in Myanmar, and also we have rankings also very far better than India. We need to understand from the statistics that India still needs to achieve more in the fields of health and education, in the fields of ranking. Once the infrastructure improves, once the health facilities are provided more, automatically the ranking would improve. So UN has taken Human Development Index as a basic criteria to determine the rankings, and also to say that you needs to work on these particular fields so that your country can develop more, you can achieve more targets. And now the other fundamental question what we have now is sustainable development. What is sustainable development? Sustain, to remain, development, to develop, to remain and to develop. What has to remain and what has to develop? To remain in the sense the resources what we are using right now has to remain for the future generations also. Let us take water. Today we are consuming water, we are drinking water, we are using the water from the various sources, and especially the underground water resources. The underground water resources, from the past decade we are squeezing out the underground water resources at a very high rate when compared to the previous decades. See, underground water resources is a non-renewable resource. A non-renewable resource is a resource which is having a fixed stock available in the nature. Once the stock is emptied, then there is no further stock available for us. So we need to think on the alternatives. So underground water, when we are using, when our forefathers gave the planet to us, they gave it in a very healthy manner. In the same way, we also have to pass it to the next generations with giving them the natural share of the properties or the assets of the nature to them equally. If we utilize the entire underground water layers, which are a fixed stock, which are a non-renewable sources, then how can we expect the world will survive for the future? So underground water layers, let us take an example for that. If underground water layers are not used in a meticulously and in a well-mannered way, where it is used in a reasonable way so that you can save it naturally for the future generations, and if you are not utilizing it for the future generations, then definitely it will be an obstacle, and the future generation people would find it very difficult to find water. Let us also discuss one of the other examples of petrol. Now, as we have been discussing about the underground water levels, once the underground water levels are being dried up, and as they are non-renewable sources, definitely the future generations will definitely face the consequences. And when we talk about the consequences of the overutilization or these environmental consequences, they do not react by taking into consideration the state boundaries, the national boundaries and the international boundaries. For them, It's planet, Earth. The resources are dried, finished. They do not have any considerations of region wise or any country wise. So we need to face, and the situations are alarming not for any one particular country in alone. It is an alarm for the entire planet and all the countries in the world, because we are no more restraining ourselves to be as an individual countries. We are in a global village where the problems also to be shooted out with the global actions, not by individual actions. Let us see one more example. The crude oil reserves available in the world. The crude oil reserves available in the world in the region wise, the number of reserves available for us in billion tons, and for how many years will they sustain. These three are the table indexes here. First, let us take the Middle East. We all know Middle East is the hub for us to get the crude oil. So Middle East crude oil, we get 89 billion tons is available for us, and this can provide oil for the world for next 93 years. It's a very good time. Then after 93 years, you don't get any oil for us. Next, United States of America, where the reserves are in 4 billion tons, and you can sustain for another 10 years with that oil. After 10 years, what next? Then in the entire world, we have 137 billion tons, and this can accommodate for another 43 years. You may get a fundamental doubt. So how can 89 billion tons accommodate for 93 years? World with 137 can accommodate only for 43 years. This is only for that particular region what we have given. This is all the countries in the world, all the oil reserves are together given this. All the countries, when they utilize, they can be utilized only for next 43 years. So if you utilize like this, after 93 years, what? What will the Middle East countries sell to the other countries in the world? Middle East countries are known for their oil reserves. They do not get water when they dig in the underground layers. They get only oil. Because of that, they are able to buy water, and they are able to have all the other benefits by selling what? Petrol or crude oil. What will they sell after 93 years if they do not react now? What will US do after 10 years to get oil? What will the world do after 43 years? What action will be taken? So it's very close and very short span of time allowed for us or left out for us, because we need to react very soon. If we do not react on the oil reserves now, definitely the entire world will face a problem in the next century coming. So any environmental concern will not have any geographical boundaries. It's only the concern with the human life, and human life will be in trouble. So to have a better life, better understanding, we need to have a sustainable development. Sustainable development should be environmental friendly. At the same time, we should not dry up the reserves what we have. We should try to rebuild the reserves what we have, and also utilize the reserves in a very best, and try to develop all possible alternatives which can reduce the burden on a particular resource, so that the future generations also can have this one. So sustainable development is the need of the hour. Every nation, every country, every people, every individual has to do his contribution for the global village to sustain. So sustainable development is a high priority required at this moment. And when we come to the topic of development, what we have started earlier, development is like a perennial river. A perennial river is a river which flows continuously throughout the year. So perennial means continuous. So development is a continuous process. We cannot say that we have developed, so we can stop our action of development. Progress is always and ultimate. It goes on. In the same way, if we think that we have developed, if telephone invention has brought us to a mode of development, then mobile phones would not have been there. If computers, desktops have brought us to a mode of development, then laptop would not have been there. So there is no end for the process of development. It is a continuous and unending process. So the debate on the development goes on, but we need to remember that the development should be eco-friendly, environmental friendly, and also should follow the guidelines of sustainable development. That is the only need for this hour, and the development process always goes on. The debate continues and it goes on like that. Development goes on. That's the concept of development.